Yeah, it's very neat. The Trans Am series is a good series to look into, and one benefit of the Trans Am series is they're very protective of safety, and it's about racing. There's like passing and not really much of those, dumps and those bumps and runs, which, a bump and run is just part of the sport occasionally, but they're very protective of safety and equipment, which I think is beneficial for any race team.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. What experiences do you have with racing with rivals?
Well, I think we've got one developing. I'm not going to say I've really got any rivals. I try to be courteous on the racetrack, and just being new to this level of racing, I try to get in and blend in with everybody on the track and learn as much as I can. But as we've gotten better and better every week, we've gotten closer and closer to the front, on a weekly basis. And I know a couple weeks ago, I was really close to passing a car and had a faster car than the guy in front of me. And I don't want to say I tried to execute a bump and run, but he was in front of me, and I was carrying a ton of speed in the center of the corner. And I got into his back bumper, and I did think that he might wash up the track a little bit, just kind of based on where I hit him and kind of where we were at in the corner. I thought maybe he would wash up. I didn't intentionally do it. I just wasn't braking as much as these other guys, or whatever the case may be. I was rolling a little faster, but anyway, I got into the back of him, and I know it definitely upset him. He was trying to brake check me going down the straightaways, and I knew he was wanting to try to get me on his outside so he could put me into the wall, I'm sure. And I just tried to be smart and be strategic, and I just kind of stayed behind him and made sure he kept his spot for a few laps. And anyway, as the weeks went on, I did pass him this most recent race we ran. Got by him cleanly, didn't touch him. He was really loose off the corners, and we were actually really, really good on the bottom. And I wasn't fighting a loose race car. I was handling super well. So we got underneath of him, and I just was patient, and I just stayed down there on the bottom the whole time. And as you know, that's the fastest way around the racetrack in most places. If you can hook the bottom and stay quick down there, that's the shortest way around the track, right? So we ultimately got in front of him, and as soon as I got into the next corner, he wrecked me. So I don't know if that was some payback or if that was just inexperience on my part, but he definitely gave me the old bump and run. So he spun me out, which fortunately for us, there was a caution that came out right before that spin. So I would have got to go back and get in line where I was at before the spin and started the restart in a fifth place position. But the incident that caused the caution put a ton of fluid out on the racetrack, and I tried to avoid that fluid by going down pit road because it started from the top of turn 4, and the fluid went all the way down to the bottom of the racetrack. And so I thought I would be smart and just avoid the fluid altogether and go down pit road and not make a mess of it on the front straightaway. And ultimately, they said I went down pit road. I needed to restart at the tail of the longest line. And so I had to restart in 9th, and we ultimately finished 9th because I didn't get to pass anyone on the restart. So that rivalry, I think, is developing. The race director came down after that race and said I need to be careful running around that guy and make sure I don't develop any type of unnecessary rivalry, so to speak. But I
Oh,
don't have any ill will against him, but I don't know that he necessarily thinks I'm fun to race around, I guess.
yeah. So you had one of those like Bill France Jr. Days of Thunder like chats afterwards.
Yeah. They pretty much came down and told me that I need to be careful and kind of watch what I'm doing. And I was trying to pass him clean. A lot of these guys are a little bit older than me, so I try to be respectful and courteous of that. And at the same time, racing's racing, right? You guys are going fast and you're pushing your cars to the edge. Lap after lap, so you're going to bump into people, and naturally I'll probably be right beside him the next time we go to the racetrack too. So hopefully there's not any, bad blood out there, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. I had a moment like that when I competed at Unser Karting. Do you want to hear about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I didn't know you did some karting experience. Yeah, let's hear about that.
Yeah, when I was a teenager, I ran in a K1 go-kart series, a tiny series here in Arizona, and when I used to live in Colorado, and won half of the races that I competed in and had a perfect game one weekend where I led all the laps in the pole and the winner.
Wow. Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, anyway, after I graduated from high school, I attempted to take my skill to the next level by going to Unser Karting in Denver, Colorado to do their go-karting. But those ones go up to 60 miles per hour, and I was
Oh,
experienced with 20 miles per hour. I was put through a class along with the other drivers, and the point of the races that we were going to run, which I had 3. I had 3 races I was scheduled with them. It was going to be whoever ran the fastest lap was the winner, not whoever finished where. You know what I mean?
right. Going on lap times, I get that. Yep.
Yeah. So that was the point. Well, anyway, I got into the go-kart, and the minute I stepped on the gas pedal and we all went forward, I had a complete lack of experience with the speed because of the significant speed compared to what I was used to. And I passed the whole field during the first pace lap in the first turn. And then I spun out in the next turn and forced an official to help me. And then I got black flagged for passing under the caution. And then and then I had to come to the pits, but I missed the pit entrance and then was black flagged again for not adhering to the black flag. And then
Oh man.
finally I came to the pits and served the penalty. And then after 3 laps of racing, which they deducted from my final score, I came back out onto the track and ran into anything and everything and spun out the corner. It was like one of those hit the pace car kind of things, you know?
Yeah. Did everything but the pace car, huh?
Yeah. And what was interesting was because of all my spin outs and accidents, they had to throw so many cautions and cause a lot of other drivers to not run their laps the way they were going to do it. Well, at one point I hit a tire barrier head on and knocked a tire into a window that cracked because of it.
Oh man.
By the time my first run ended, I was taken off the track by officials eventually when it became obvious that I didn't have the experience or whatever. Well, anyway, after that first race, I had to go up to the executives of the business, and one of the guys there was Johnny Unser, a member of the Unser family and the guy that owned the track. And when I entered I had to enter the meeting to explain myself, and Johnny Unser did not look that impressed about it. He had like that same stern look that in Days of Thunder that Bill did, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It was probably a learning experience for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, because what made it worse was I took a class before then, and so I had a lot of explaining to do that I did not run into all that intentionally. That it was just a complete lack of experience, you know.
Yeah.
And luckily, Johnny was forgiving. He advised me to go to skip barber school, which was a friendly way of telling me to get more experience. Here are the words that he used with me. You do realize that you destroyed some of our equipment and you didn't adhere to some of the yellow flags. And I understand it was an accident. However, what would have happened if your impacts happened against other competitors? You know what I mean? He was warning me that there's a safety aspect to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like I say, safety is one of the most important things on the racetrack. You know, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we all need to go home to our families. So you got to take safety, above all else most of the time.
Yeah. He did forgive the situation. I didn't ask for a refund for the 2 races that I walked away from. I just told him to keep it to fix the window. But it was
That's probably a smart move on your part.
yeah. And then a couple years later I met him again when I returned to Denver, and we laughed it off afterwards.
Well, that's good. That's good. You always got to be able to kind of walk away from it with a smile. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was just one of those hit the pace car moments, and just having to explain that it was a lack of experience, not like a
Absolutely.
guy trying to cause trouble.